so Kiniku being muscle man. So
Okay.
do you not know Kiniku?
I didn't know that term, no.
Oh, what the? Okay.
I'm not into muscle guys, Joe. Hello and welcome to another damn anime podcast. My name is Nick. I will be your host. Here with me today is my good buddy Joe. Joe, how you doing today?
Doing all right, man. How about yourself?
Doing okay, doing okay. Watching a pretty good amount of anime. Not as much as you've been watching, but a pretty good amount, I would say. Yeah, so let's just get right into it. Lots of new anime coming out. I have been watching a couple different things. Some of the old stuff I'm watching is Bochi the Rock, which I'm 6 episodes in. I do like that. You talked about that on Another Dead Pixel a while ago. I think it's pretty good. But I've been watching some other stuff too that's kind of been taking up my time. I caught up with Blue Lock. I was watching it dubbed and now I'm watching it subbed because I'm kind of past that point, but both are good. And then, but for some of the newer stuff, I started watching this one called The Ice Guy and His Cool Female Colleague. Have you had a chance to watch any of this?
No. I know which one you're talking about, but I have not. So go ahead and explain to me what is it about.
So it's a romance, uh, more or less. It's like a rom com, more or less. And I was like, okay, the ice guy. Okay, I didn't really think about what that meant, but it's literal. Like this guy is literally a guy that has like ice powers, but in a rom com like level. He, whenever he gets excited, he creates a blizzard or frustrated or whatever. He creates like blizzards, and if he gets too hot, then he will shrink. So in the second episode, they have to go to Okinawa for like a business trip. That's the colleague thing. So they have to go to Okinawa, and he's like, "Oh no, I have to go to Okinawa. I'll freeze everyone if because I'll be so excited about seeing the ocean." So he calms himself down, um, through the help of his female colleague, who is very just she's like a very like chill person, I guess, just like I mean cool like in a literal sense. But then it gets like there's a heat wave in Okinawa and he can't handle the heat wave, so he starts to like melt. But he doesn't melt like a snowman. He just gets younger. So he becomes like a child after sitting in this after sitting in the heat for so long. And the colleague comes and brings him like this popsicle stick, and he eats it, and he cools off that way, and then grows back up. But like while he's like eating it before he's big again, she's like, can I? You are you are so kawaii. Can I pet your head? And he's like, yeah. And so she like pets his head, and like that's when he like grows again. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's it's most definitely it's a josei category anime manga. So yeah, he's kind of like a Yuki Ono, but like I guess a guy version. So
Yeah, he said like his mom was a snow woman.
yeah, the
Um,
Yuki Ono. Yeah.
and then there, and so it's like, okay, I didn't know about that, but and then there's a fox girl who is another one of the people that they work with. And she has fox ears that come out sometimes, and a foxtail that comes out sometimes. And there's another guy with her that it seems to be like they're gonna be like a pair. And there's the ice guy and the cool girl and the cool girl colleague or whatever. But it's done like I just find myself like laughing out loud to it because it's just so absurd sometimes. But it is a really fun, cute story. I guess it's fun.
That's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, it's there's nothing wrong with having something that's a little bit different and off the beaten path, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
So I've been watching that, but what are some ones that you've been watching that you find interesting?
all right. Well, there's a lot of new stuff that just hit the ground. A lot of season twos, and one of the season two things that I've been watching, which is by the grace of the gods, season two. I like this one. The Essentially it's more an isekai guy dies, reincarnates as a kid, and he's in the middle of a fantasy world. He's blessed by like three of the gods, uh, and he's just an earnest, like hardworking guy, and so he just becomes earnest, hardworking kid. He's just trying to make most of his life, and he happens to be by himself in the woods. So he tames a bunch of slimes essentially, and then uh, you're talking about like literally like hundreds of slimes. He starts evolving them, and he runs into a nice like noble family. Essentially, he helps save them. Or in season one, he helps one of them out, and they more or less adopt him. um, they help him out and to try to get him used to society. And it's just him trying to live his normal day to day life as best as he can, and through his hard work and like endurance, like everyone seems to really fawn over him. But it's just a cute little slice of life thing. It's nothing particularly amazing, but it's just more or less heartwarming, I guess is the best way to put it. Um, yeah, and so season 2 just came out, and I'm like, "Alright, cool, great." I had stopped reading the manga a while back, only because, like, my tablet bit the dust, and so
Oh
I
yeah,
lost the tab and I kinda gave up on trying to rehunt all my tabs and stuff like that,
the
so I'm still
the great
further and
crash.
I read further than it is now, but it should surpass where I read. So I'm excited to see, like, towards the, halfway point or latter, like, then it'll all be new to me, so that'll be fun. So
Yeah.
that's been a good one that I came across. Uh, I did read this other one that had just become manga or anime, and that is the Handyman Saitou in Another World. This one is literally just a handyman. He gets isekai'd, and this is like a little uh skit like manga. So and then it's like it's little bits, and
So
it's
like
like
short
yeah, like
chapters or
vignettes.
whatever.
So it's like it's
Okay.
almost like a four-panel coma almost, but not that
I
short.
see. Okay.
So those are more essentially it's he's in a fantasy world, so that but because he's a handyman, he has these skills to like and he has his tool belt. He can go ahead and use his hammer to help like hammer out dents in armor. He can use he's crafty with his hands, so he's like, yeah, let me just sew. He has a fairy in his party, so he sews her like a little bag. um,
Okay.
and he has a lockpick set with him because they'd call him if they needed his help to unlock doors in our world. And so he's like, yeah, you can open up treasure chests now. And so he opens up treasure chests or like locked doors in the dungeons, and yeah, that's his party is essentially a group of three others. There's an old wizard who like forgets everything. So he's in the middle of casting a spell and can't remember the latter half of his incantation. Um, so yeah, he's just absurdly like derpy old man. Uh, and there's the fairy who's the healer, but she's also like greedy. So if she's gonna heal you, you need to pay up. Uh, so the old man would hurt his back, and she's like, "Cool, I can help ease some of that pain, but it's gonna cost you." Uh, and then there's the tank, who they don't really explain it too well in the at least I don't the first episode of the anime. But essentially, she has a thing for the main character, the
Uh,
main guy. But she she's the way she's drawn is supposed to be she's very pretty. She has a scar on her face because she's a warrior, and she's kind of embarrassed about that. So she doesn't like to take off her helmet like ever.
okay.
She doesn't actually expose her face for a good while or at least I feel like it was a good while in the manga. Uh, Now I like the manga because it's all pencil sketched. Like it's a more of a sketchy art style. It's not really I don't know. It's very warm feeling because of the sketching arts. And
Yeah, I took a look at this and you're right. It does have a very nice feel to it as you read through. It feels a lot more natural, and it's not quite so clean, but it definitely has a like you said, like a warmer feel to it for sure.
And that's why I like it, 'cause because of that, it makes, when they do have a more heart-to-heart moment or something like that, which, it's not really a sappy thing, but there's a few moments like that, and it feels more enduring because of it. Um, and they did change I think I felt that for the anime, they changed the female's art style a little bit, and same with the 2 main characters, the tank
Right.
and, the handyman, essentially. I feel like they changed them just enough, to make them more anime-esque, and I'm like, I was a little disappointed, to be honest.
Yeah, kind of
Uh,
looking at some of the comparison, they try to keep it in the anime, but you're talking about people now having to translate the work of the manga, and and they have to make concessions to kind of streamline it and get it out. I imagine, but so it's not quite the same. It doesn't have the same character, but you can tell that they're trying a little bit at least.
yeah, and the content's still there, though, so it's still funny, makes you laugh in the scenarios, and yeah, so that's totally one of the ones I was super surprised because it's not really that long of a series.
Yeah.
It kind of came to a stall for a while, so it's like but anyways, I was just amazed that it actually got an anime adaptation. Especially this, I felt like the artist or the mangaka, some of their other works seem to be a little bit more not necessarily popular, but ongoing, and they take essentially the tank's face and put it onto a squirrel girl's body. It's like he knows how to draw that one face, and that's what he just does.
Uh,
Um, and but except for the fact that it's oh, I can't remember what it was now. Something like she's a lizard girl in disguise.
yeah.
So and it's the classmate like knows about the fact that she's not human, but she's like a was that L. Ron Hubbard, like a Reploid or something like that. Like
What? She's like a reptilian? What?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I think so. L. Ron Hubbard made like the guy from who did Scientology, who had previously wrote like books about lizard people, if I
Okay.
remember correctly.
I know Battlefield Earth and like that he wrote some more, but okay. I didn't know about the lizard
Yeah.
people, but I believe you. Yes.
So it was but yeah, so it's just a guy who's completely smitten with his classmate who's happens to like, like shed and stuff. So it was just such a weird concept. I'm like, I don't know if I can get into this one, but this handyman one is the one I'm gonna stick to.
Okay.
And yeah, so
Yeah, the Handyman
uh
one does seem pretty heartfelt. It seems like it might be a pretty fun group cast of characters to read along with.
all right. But what else have you been going through then?
So you and I have been doing. We just started a podcast on the Near anime that is coming out. The first episode just aired. Second episode will be airing this weekend, and we'll probably try to sneak in and do the next podcast for that. Seemed pretty good. You and I both kind of came to conclusion that the first episode would be about a 7 out of 10. So that's pretty good, and we're just both eager to see what's going to happen next. But for other stuff that I've been watching, I got a chance to watch Trigun Stampede. Have you watched this?
No, I saw a little bit of the manga for not this one, but the predecessor, Maximum, I think it's called. So yeah, I don't know anything about Stampede.
Yeah, so neither did I, and I thought it was. I actually thought it was just going to be a. I thought it was just Trigun with a different cover on it or something. I didn't know anything about it. So I clicked on it and I watched the first episode, and I don't remember the story of Trigun completely exactly how it ended, but this seems to be the events after the original Trigun show or the original Trigun run. Um, and it's pretty good. The story seems pretty good so far. It's a nice continuation. It is done entirely in like CG cartoon. Um, so it's not quite as jarring, though I don't think it looks quite as good as like a regular uh, animated show. But it is done in like entirely in CG cartoon, and it looks okay. It looks okay. Certain times the characters actually look pretty good, especially when they're moving, or their movements look really realistic. As far as like the way in which they move, it's a bit uncanny at times, but it's pretty cool so far. There's a little bit of a plot that's developed and a little bit of action that happens in the first episode. Some really cool, weird stuff happens with some of the way that the like some of the action is very warpy, and they like do some weird stuff with the camera. So that stuff's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing more. I think it might end up being pretty good overall, and definitely a break from the norm. So I am looking forward to that. But you should check it out at least. Maybe watch that first episode, see if it's something that you want to keep watching. Um, but yeah, so yeah, there's another one that you suggested to me a little while ago. You told me it was going to be coming out here soon, and so I have watched the first two episodes of this one as well. Tomo-chan Is A Girl. I've been watching and I've been enjoying it pretty well. It's a cute rom com, another cute rom com, awkward scenarios. I didn't read the manga. I think that you have though. Is that right? Or did you just hear about this as an anime?
I just came across this as an anime.
Okay.
I knew nothing about this before I first saw it. No, but real quick, going back to Trigun, from the cover poster, it has Wolfwood in it, so this can't be a continuation, at least, or maybe they do flashbacks, but Wolfwood's written out of the series, you know,
Yeah,
so
it's been like, gosh, it's
so
been.
I'm really curious now, but also his main, they took away his hair. Like, so like, it bothers me in a weird, obscenely way. I'm like, it shouldn't bother me as badly,
I
but, like,
guess I
his
need to
hairstyle is not hi
I need to rewatch Trigun because I remember like almost nothing of it because I think it's probably been 18 or 19 years since I've actually seen any Trigun. Uh, so I forgot everything
yeah.
about the plot. But
Oh, it's
yeah,
fine, but man, oh, like I said, his hair's so different. It's just, and I'm like, it shouldn't bother me as much as it is, and it is, but I'm like, so I'm really curious about it. But yeah, so you got me.
well,
I'll end up watching this in the next probably week or
well,
so.
this Trigun seems to be about it's got Vash in it, and it seems to be about some of the events that happen before he comes to the planet. And I won't spoil any more than that. And then it seems to be about some extra characters that are related to him, that I don't think we knew about in the old series, but I don't remember too much about it, so I
Yeah,
could be
the old
wrong.
series ended really funky too. So, and like I said, there's a middle series that got like, or a couple episodes of something called Maximum, and I never got to really finish that. So I, without explaining too much, it's just like
Okay.
what
I don't know
little I
about that.
read, and so there's a bit of backstory there. Like if you want to try to go in the full lore, but I don't know, man. I'll give it a shot. I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you there. All right, so
No, no, it's
Tomo-chan
good.
Is A
I
Girl.
didn't know you had that many questions about Trigun Stampede, so that's good to
Yeah.
talk about it. But
So Tomo-chan Is A Girl, I didn't know exactly what to expect of it. I told you about it because, well, I was actually surprised because it dropped almost same day or day after English dub,
yeah,
and I was like, oh, okay. That's, if it's getting dubbed that fast, then it might be actually like interesting that someone's putting money and effort into it to do that quickly.
yeah, and I
And
think it is.
yeah,
I think it is simultaneous because episode two dropped and I noticed it, and it was already in English, so I was watching that dub as well.
yeah, it's entertaining. It's the voice work is solid. More or less, it's just about a girl who confesses her love for her guy friend, but because she's a tomboy, the guy friend treats her just as a fella, essentially. And she is super upset about that, but she also wants to be around him, so she just kind of like deals with it. Um,
Yeah,
so
it is.
uh,
He like thinks that she's a boy, or
what
she
when they were
thinks that he
kids,
thinks that.
yeah, when
Yeah,
they were because they were old childhood friends, and so he legitimately thought of like she was just a until like middle school. I think they say they were childhood friends as elementary school kids, and come middle school, they meet up after being away for a while. I think he's like, oh yeah, why are you in a skirt? you know,
yeah. He's like he
so
doesn't understand at all. Did you watch episode 2?
yes, I did.
The the English girl is really strange, but also really funny. So there's this English girl, and she's literally like from England, and her name, what was her name? Something very standard English or whatever.
I can't remember the character's name, but it
But
was just they made her very awkward.
she is really
She's like,
awkward.
yeah.
But she has some really funny moments and some really funny stuff that she does, because she's like, it's funny, like, why do they make her like a robot? But they make her in a lot of ways kind of like a robot. She says some really strange things and does some really strange things, but it's pretty cool. It's a pretty good show. I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, her best friend, is, an interesting character to say the least.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
her best friend is almost like this like standard anime schoolgirl that is not really, has like no frills almost at all. But she has good advice.
she's a very dark personality, essentially, is what it is, and,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just, that, like, she enjoys watching her best friend, Tomo, like, squirm, essentially, or, like, she's like, "You're oblivious to what's going on around you, let me push you in the right direction and also watch this unfold." So she
yeah,
enjoys that.
yeah. Like her and then the blonde girl seem like they're gonna be there to teach Tomo how to be like a regular girl, as a foil to her throughout the show. It seems like they're just gonna be there to go like, well, you're
Yeah.
doing it wrong.
They
Here's how to do it.
they also ended episode 2 on a cliffhanger, which was interesting.
That is true. That is
Uh,
true. They did.
so, alright.
Anyway, good
Yeah,
show.
then I guess, outside of that, there's, another one that I ended up watching called The Adventurers, Who Don't Believe in Humanity Will Save the World.
Okay.
And, yeah, silly names of, anime nowadays. So, essentially, it's just, episode 1 was just a bunch of people, like, in a fantasy world, 4 people talking about their backstories on how they got betrayed by their parties or in one form or another, or how their tragic backstories, and
Yeah.
them being like, "W everyone sucks, let's form a party." That's that's pretty much it. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and it's neat to see their backstories. If you mentioned a little while ago when you started watching Shield Hero that you liked the idea of the fact that it's not your average opener. I guess it was like you come
Yeah.
in and you have all the powers, or like people treating them poorly, and but that's kind of the way this rolls off.
Okay.
And I'm so it's like I said, so far what little I've seen, it seems like fun. There's a bunch of other stuff that I've been watching, but I'm gonna more or less skip over a lot of those until next time, where there's like 2 or 3 episodes under my belt. Maybe it's like, and then I can give a more positive or negative outcome on those. Like, hey, you should maybe give this one a shot, or maybe avoid these ones. But the last one I'm going to mention here real quick is the campfire cooking in another world with my absurd skill. So dude gets isekai'd and ends up being friends with a wolf, essentially, and it's just him, like a Fenrir, because it's always a Fenrir. Uh,
Uh-huh. Okay.
yeah, and ends up traveling through the world, and he I'm pretty sure he has a slime companion as well, because they always have slime companions now too. Uh, but yeah, it's essentially at first it was like, yeah, not knowing anything about the manga when I was reading it, I'm like, okay, this is like just a standard like adventure scene, and then with some cooking involved. and then later on, it just becomes solely cooking. Just every episode, like every chapter you're reading, it's like just him talking about some food he's whipping up, and it's just a foodie manga disguised as an isekai storyline. But it's just like, all right, I guess this is what you need, right? Um, and so the wolf would be like, "Yeah, I'll be back. Let me get some more supplies." And he's like, "Here, I killed a cockatrice." It's like that kind of looks like a chicken, so I wonder if I could cook it like chicken, you know. So yeah, here's some yakitori or something, and uh,
But
it's
it sounds like a slice of life, but masked as like
totally is.
okay,
It's
okay.
totally just it's there's no overarching real story, like at least in the manga. So it's I don't know, it was entertaining, it was enjoyable, and it's just like, if you wanna see a bunch of food being cooked, then this is probably the one to go for. Only episode 1 came out so far, so it's kinda hard to see where it's gonna go, uh, but I read the manga for a long while too, so I probably gonna give this one a shot for a while, so
It sounds like a good like chill out and just veg anime.
yeah, I mean, well, in all anime, like, there's so much anime that has to do with cooking now, or at least they used cooking as a certain point in it. It's just like, yeah, all right, I understand. You want to go to a nice restaurant and you're gonna use this as your experience, or you're gonna try to be like, your character isn't as helpless as they are. They might live by themselves and be shut in, but yet somehow they have all these cooking gourmet skills because they watched a lot of TV or something, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. Uh, but in this case, like I said, it is fun. It was an entertaining manga, and I'm actually looking forward to this anime.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool, man. Well, that's pretty much what we've been watching. And then so next we're gonna get into a special segment here called Hidden Gems. So for this, this first time we're doing this, this is just gonna be kind of a thing where, either Joe or I have gone through and found something that we think is maybe not as popular, but something that we like, that we've read or watched, that we think is worth talking about and showing to the community as a whole. Maybe that should get a little bit more attention, and just kind of talk about it and maybe talk about some of its better merits. So for this one, I put it on Joe because he mentioned this one this one property to me a while ago. So Joe, go ahead and take it away. What would you call your hidden gem?
All right, so this one's the Ice Blade Sorcerer, like, will rule the world or something. I think that's what they translated it to.
You can't even remember the
Um,
name. Okay.
and it's just like, uh, yeah, it's one of those things that, like, the manga, it looks so different.
If
It's very
I may,
I wouldn't
if I
okay,
may
go for
interrupt you, the Ice Blade Magician rules over the world.
it.
That
Okay.
may not be the best translation, but it's the one we've got.
But this one is how do I bestly put it? The manga, I really like the manga because it has this unpolished quality to it. It doesn't look like your standard, like,
Yeah.
manga, and especially when this is a fantasy setting, and it's a fantasy, like, magical school setting. So it's just like you're looking at a bunch of guys or a bunch of characters doing magic and just normal school day-to-day activities. Uh, but the character design, kind of like the Handyman, like, manga I mentioned earlier, has a roughness to it, but also just the character facial designs. Um, certain characters have like weird bags under their eyes. Their facial features are very just not they're not your normal system, and it's just like there's something about that kind of you start to find enduring, and you're like, yeah, like I really start to like this. This is good. I kind of, despite the story being at first kind of feeling like mediocre, you kind of feel like it's like, oh yeah, okay, I've read or seen things like this. And but granted, that's kind of how a lot of the genre is, right? You have to find something to bring it a step up, and the art style is one of it. And then it's also, the story is decent. The way the trials and the kids have to go through. So
Yeah, I did
I would have
actually
never.
I did actually get a chance to read a little bit of this. I didn't get to read a lot, but the first two chapters are pretty long. The first chapter is like 60 something pages. The second is like 40 something pages. So it's kind of like, whoa, that's quite a bit. So I read the first two chapters of, and it does hook you in pretty quickly. And you're right, the art style is, it does. I mean, it's still a manga, so you're still talking about pointy chins and pointy noses and big eyes, but it's well done, and each of the characters has their own kind of feel to it, and the world itself has its own kind of feel that stands out from other stuff. And there's this one part in it where like the the main character is being confronted by this guy, this like popular guy or whatever, and he just like grabs him by the collar and he's like, ordinary people like you should fuck off. And it's just like, I don't know what got me about that panel, but I just thought that was like the funniest fucking thing. So that, and there's like a bunch of like little surprises here and there. And yeah, you're right. It does have a lot of personality. It is a pretty cool uh, manga there.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is, this got animated. My grief with it, I guess, is uh, they made the characters look quite a bit different. I mean,
In the
it
anime.
looks, yeah, in the anime. So they anime-fied it as it were, or something. It's just they instead of trying to go based off the source material, they're like, "No, we're gonna reimagine these characters just a little bit more." Um, I mean, you still got the main female as like, a twin-tailed redhead. That's still relatively same, but like her facial features are very different in when you're comparing the two. The main character, I think, is Ray White. He's his just everyone looks quite a bit different, and they even changed the entire outlook of some of the side characters. I believe the guy that you're talking about who's picking a fight, I'm pretty sure his character design is completely different. If
Uh,
just based me going, I didn't go back to actually compare one to one, but just off my own memory. Um, some of the teachers, they switched up, and so they're very much taking their own liberties with it. They're changing the story just enough just to make it as their own twist or spin. And it's how do I say this? It's like, it's okay, but at the same time, I'm just coming from where I am, it's kind of disappointing. What I was reading about the comments of, like, episode 1 and 2, everyone's like, "Yeah, okay, just another, magical school, anime. It's just, this seems pretty average." But I'm interested enough to sit there and let's see how this plays out. So everyone seemed to be like, "Yeah, this is like a 6, but we're all gonna stay here and continue to see what happens." So,
Yeah, and that's not the vibe that you get from it when you're like reading the manga. The manga, it's a bit standard, but the art style propels it a bit more, and it moves quickly. And you can tell that you're in good hands. The anime, it sounds like I haven't seen the anime, but it sounds like the anime is some animation company going like, well, we're ready to do a certain style for a certain budget, and so we're just going to do that. And so they kind of have to leech a lot of the personality of the show out of it in order to make a show that's profitable or that's not going to break the bank. And that's just sort of kind of the way the business goes. That it seems to lose a lot of the charm whenever it gets translated over.
yeah, well, I said uh, at least the quality is it feels like it's a B tier animation studio.
Oh yeah.
That I guess that's kind of what it is. But as far as the content involved, that's still good. By episode 2, it has a lot of silly moments is for the best way to put it without trying to spoil anything, and it makes you laugh. So I mean, it's still I think it'll be a good watch in the end. I mean, I'm hopeful, but then again, like I said, that source material, the manga, I personally really liked. Uh, and it was always really weird because when I was reading the manga, I'm pretty sure it's based off a light novel because the image, the thumbnail they would always have is a very airbrushed looking main female character, and I'm like, and then you go in from this like really cutesy rounded face, like doll-esque, cover, to then you see her how she is, a 180 almost, jagged lines, like scrunched face, and from the manga, and you're like, how did they get that on this cover? So I'm assuming that must have been like the light novel cover, and then that they used for the thumbnail for the manga. And the manga, so even those art styles are completely different. So I guess it's nothing too shocking, I guess, for them to switch the art style yet again, I guess.
Yeah,
But
that
no, it's I totally recommend giving it a watch, preferably a read instead, just to see, because like I said, it's nice. It's almost refreshing to see a different art style for a change. Uh, and as much as I like that the Handyman, because that was also a different art style that you don't get to see too often, and it's nice to see different takes on that. But yeah,
yeah. It's
totally
still
give it a shot if you
like it's
can.
still in that anime or manga style that you're used to, but there's just a bit more charm and personality added to it. So you can see a page without even like being able to read the words and go, I know where that came from. I know the artist, and just from a familiarity that I don't know makes it feel better. I
See,
think.
I guess it almost feels like and when you first look at it, especially if you're not used to it, you're like, it feels unpolished as that goes.
Yeah,
But then you're like, no, but then it's like it grows on you. I think one of the big problems with the translations, at least on the website that I was on, is one of the scanlating teams covered the last couple volumes,
yeah,
who did the most obscene job trying to translate, because it somehow went from a decent group of people to this other team that uh just did a garbage job. And, like, I'm like, here I can't really, it's just like, I feel like they ran it through, like, a Google, translation from
yeah,
one language to another, and then did that, like, 3 more times before they decided to translate it to English. It's just some of the wording, some of the, and then also the text, the font, everything else. So, as far as reading it off of, a website, it was a very bad experience.
yeah. The one that I have pulled up, I think, is from Manga Fox, and it is good in some spots, but there's definitely a lot of spots where they are missing a word, like a small word, like to or a or something like that. And it definitely probably about once every other page there's an obvious mistake, and it's like, well, they're doing it for free probably, so beggars can't be choosers. But there's also a lot of people out there who seem to do it pretty well, and I guess it's just the luck of
Yeah,
the draw.
it's a roll of the dice, exactly, and then especially when people get too busy, and then they have to drop projects,
Yeah,
uh, and
yeah.
so then you'll have ones where, like, someone will be like, "I'm doing this out of my own time, and I'm not a professional, I'm just literally using Google Translate. Don't shoot me. I'm just like I'm just the guy I wanted to be up here for y'all, feel free to take over if you want," you know?
Yeah. Hey, if you don't
Uh
like it, do it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, and so, I mean, those I can understand, but this one, it was just like whoever this last team was, like I said, they'd use all caps all the time, except for the letter I, where they do it was a full length I, but they'd have a dot above it. So every time they used I, it looked like it was, um, like the foreign A with the 2 dots over it or something like that. You just see
Uh,
everything all caps, like think, and then a floating dot above, the word, and you're like, wait a minute. Yeah, it was infuriating. I was like, I couldn't stand it. But also, it looked like someone had a stroke while translating because it was just like you're missing key words, you're saying things that don't make sense.
Yeah,
I'm like I said, I'm pretty sure this is translated for at least 2 to 3 other languages prior, which it hasn't that's happened. I mean, I've read ones where it's like, yeah, this is actually coming from a Russian translation of a from a Chinese one prior to that, but it still is legible and you can fill in the
that's
blanks, and that's kind of people would make the effort. So I'm like,
I
geez,
mean,
I
that's
don't know
just
what
what you have to
happened.
deal with in the scanlation community. If you're gonna get it fast, it's gonna be quick and dirty sometimes, and that's the
So
what
be
you're
warned.
signing up for. Yeah, so be warned. But yeah, I've checked on it a little bit too, and it is pretty good. But yeah, so that's gonna do it for us today. Thanks for joining us on our anime rundown and hidden gem. Uh, I'm Nick, and with me has been Joe. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, take it easy, guys.
Bye bye.